Chapter 001 Stormy Weather. Black Cloud City. The Nie family. Night fell. Nie Tian, dressed in plain white, leaned against the windowsill, gazing blankly at the artificial rockery outside. Inside the room, the 1-year-old Nie Tian impatiently pushed away his wet nurse, his mouth smeared with milk, yet his eyes fixed longingly on Nie Tian, babbling incessantly. Meat, eat meat. Nurse Joe's face flushed with embarrassment. Miss, she stammered. Nie Tian snapped out of her reverie, glared at the chubby Nie Tian, and muttered, "This little rascal has already eaten 2 bowls of meat paste today. He won't drink his milk properly, and now he wants more meat. I don't know if he can even digest it all. Meat. Want meat?" Hint continued to clamor cheerfully. Looking at Nie Tian's ingratiating smile, Nie Tian remembered her deceased sister, her heart softening. She gently nodded to Nurse Joe. Joe immediately brought out a bowl of finely minced meat paste, placing it gently on the table. Nie Tian's dark eyes lit up instantly. He picked up his silver spoon and expertly scooped up the meat, his chubby little face filled with contentment. Listening to Nie Tian's smacking sounds, Nie Tian inexplicably agitated. "Xiaoyu, how many children are participating in tomorrow's lot drawing ceremony?" she suddenly asked. At the door, the maid, Han Yu, hesitated for a moment before softly saying, "Miss, every child of the Nie family, every child with the surname Nie, around the age of 1 will participate. After all, the old immortal from Lingyan Mountain only comes once every 5 years, bringing spiritual artifacts. It's considered a reward for the Nie family's years of diligent service. No family with a 1-year-old child would want to miss this opportunity." The Nie family is a prominent clan in Haiyan City. However, in this world, cultivators hold the highest status, and the power of secular families almost entirely serves those powerful cultivators. The Nie family is no exception. The cultivator sect that the Nie family relies on is the Lingyan sect, located in Lingyan Mountain near Haiyan City. The heart of Lingyan Mountain is rich in Huayan stone, a common, low-grade spiritual material needed for cultivator cultivation. The Lingyan sect cultivators are perpetually busy with their cultivation and unwilling to spend time mining this low-grade Huayan stone. So they assign the task to the Nie family. Generation after generation of Nie family members have paid tribute to the Lingyan sect by mining Huayan stone, in exchange for the sect's protection. Besides protecting the Nie family from the pressure of other families in Haiyan City, the Lingyan sect cultivators also visit the Nie family every 5 years using low-grade spiritual artifacts in a lottery to test the cultivation talent of the Nie family's infants. Every child, upon birth, possesses certain unique attributes. Besides the 5 elements of gold, wood, fire, and earth, some children also possess rare attributes like lightning, wind, clouds, and ice. Each time the Lingyan sect cultivators come, they bring several low-grade spiritual artifacts with various attributes. Children and artifacts with matching attributes will attract each other, allowing the determination of the child's inherent attribute. This allows parents to provide targeted training and understand their child's future cultivation path, making their cultivation journey much more efficient. The Lingyan sect cultivators use these low-grade spiritual artifacts to secure the loyalty of the Nie family. The low-grade spiritual artifacts presented at the lottery ceremony are given to the Nie family infants with matching attributes. For the Lingyan sect cultivators, these low-grade, largely useless artifacts are helpful for the Nie family infants' cultivation, and for a long time they remain the children's most handy tools. Therefore, the lottery ceremony held every 5 years always excites the Nie family. Any Nie family elder with a child around 1-year-old considers it a momentous occasion in their child's life, eagerly anticipating it. This time was no exception. "I'm asking you, how many children participated this time?" Nie Tian frowned. 7, Han Yu whispered, her head bowed. "Xiao Tian just turned 1-year-old, and he also has the surname Nie. Why wasn't I notified to let 9 participate in this drawing lot ceremony?" Nie Tian snorted coldly, a wry smile, glancing up at Nie Tian and softly saying, "Although Nie Tian is the second Miss child, the second Miss, like you, was only a daughter. Moreover, before the second Miss passed away, she never mentioned who Nie Tian's father was. The rules of the Nie family are clear. Only grandsons and granddaughters are eligible to participate in the drawing lot ceremony held every 5 years. Grandnephews are not included." "I don't care about those outdated rules. Father is still the head of the family. I'll go find him and demand an explanation," Nie Tian said angrily, and with that, she stormed off. Even though the old man is still the head of the family, his position isn't secure. After Nie Tian's angry departure, Han Yu murmured with a bitter expression. A while later, Nie Tian burst into Nie Donghai's pavilion and angrily shouted, "Father, Nie Tian is," her cry cut short. In the dim room, Nie Donghai, the current head of the Nie family, sat slumped against the wall. His face was sallow and etched with fatigue. His once robust frame was now gaunt and stooped. He stared at a dark red pill in his left palm, hesitant. Han Kyun, her anger flaring, felt a pang of sympathy. Her voice softened. "Father." No, she recognized the pill in Nie Donghai's palm at once, a Huishan pill. This pill allowed a cultivator to temporarily replenish their spiritual energy and enhance their vitality, a kind of last-ditch effort, but the Huishan pill came at a cost, draining the cultivator's potential and lifespan, leaving them severely weakened afterward. Generally, cultivators only resorted to the Huishan pill in life or death struggles, never under ordinary circumstances. Nie Donghai, who had been staring at the pill for a long time, managed a weak smile upon seeing Han Chun. He said hoarsely, "Since being severely injured by the Yun and Yuan families, My danshan has been shattered. My spiritual energy dissipates faster than it replenishes. My cultivation, it'll never reach the Xianshan realm, perhaps not even maintain my current Zhongshan level. It might be slipping away. The second and third brothers have coveted my position for a long time. People from Lingyan sect will be here tomorrow. If they see my declining state, and the second and third brothers fan the flames, I'll likely have to give up my position. Father, if it means sacrificing your lifespan to keep the position of family head, I'd rather you step down, Qian said, her eyes brimming with tears. What do you know? Nie Donghai glared, his face filled with anger and grim determination. Only as long as I remain the head of the Nie family will you have a chance to avenge the humiliation you suffered at the hands of the Yun family, and only with the Nie family's power can I hope to find out who deceived your sister. If I step down, the second and third brothers will never bother with your and your sister's grievances. For you and Gina, I will hold on to this position for as long as I can. A few less years of life, what does it matter? Once I step down, I'll no longer be able to fight for you. What's the difference between that and being dead? Father, Nie Tian sobbed uncontrollably. All right, don't act like a child. Tell me, what's this urgent matter? Nie Donghai took a deep breath, his expression regaining its firmness. Father, tomorrow's lottery ceremony is crucial. Since you let Xiaoshan take the Nie surname, I hope Xiaoshan can participate. If Xiaoshan can find a suitable spiritual weapon at the lottery ceremony, it will greatly help his future cultivation. Perhaps he could use that spiritual weapon to reach the 9th level of Q refinement at 15 and enter the Lingyan sect. Nie Tian pleaded. This matter. Nie Donghai looked troubled. How could I not know? I've already discussed this with the second and third brothers. But they insist that Xiaoshan is not a true son of the Nie family and want to bar him from the ceremony according to family rules. Father, your cultivation path has reached its end. And my sister is gone. And as for me, this is my life. Our branch of the family is not prosperous. Only Xiaoshan is a son. I hope you will try your best to fight for an opportunity for Xiaoshan, Nie Tian said with tears in her eyes. Nie Donghai was silent for a long time. I understand. Go back. Bring Nie Tian to the lottery ceremony tomorrow on time. A hint of joy flashed in Nie Tian's tear-filled eyes, then she bowed and withdrew. Just as she stepped out of the room and was about to leave, she heard Nie Donghai swallow a returning spirit pill, followed by a long sigh from Nie Donghai. Nie Tian's heart ached. She knew her arrival had only strengthened Nie Donghai's resolve. Unable to bear looking back, she fled in a hurried panic. Chapter Zo to the lottery assembly. The next day, the Nie family's assembly hall buzzed with a lively, boisterous energy. A crowd of Nie family members, young and old, gathered around Lu Yan of Lingyan sect, showering him with polite attentions, hoping to curry favor and secure a few extra chances for their children and grandchildren to enter Lingyan sect in the future. Lu Yan, clad in grey robes, sat in the seat of honor, a faint smile playing on his lips as he engaged in perfunctory conversation with the Nie family, his eyes betraying a hint of impatience. Throughout, Lu Yan remained seated, while the Nie family members around him bowed and scraped, their attitudes humble. At the entrance of the hall, Nie family members, each carrying a child of about 1 year old, entered one after another. Each arrival would first present the child to Lu Yan, showering him with smiles and introductions before greeting the 3 elders of the Nie family, who sat beside Lu Yan. Nie Donghai, along with his second brother Nie Bichuan and third brother Nie Nanshan, maintained their composure, avoiding excessive flattery of Lu Yan. Yet each time their eyes met, they responded with bright smiles. Unlike yesterday, today Nie Donghai's face was flushed with health, his spirit vibrant. There was no sign of injury whatsoever. Nie Tian, what are you doing bringing Nie Tian here? At that moment, an untimely voice suddenly rang out. Nie Lan, who had just introduced his child to Lu Yan with a beaming smile, frowned, his expression displeased as he looked towards the palace doors. Nie Lan was the son of the second eldest, Nie Bichuan. He was the oldest of the second generation of the Nie family, but his cultivation talent was poor. He remained at the 9th level of key refinement, unable to break through the bottleneck and enter the Haoshan realm. Because of this, he had long since given up on his own cultivation, pinning all his hopes on his 3 sons. His eldest son, 11 years old, was already at the 7th level of key refinement. As long as he reached the 9th level within 4 years, he would gain the favor of the Lingyan sect, become a disciple, and with the sect's assistance, smoothly advance to the Haoshan realm, thus rising to prominence. His 6 years old had also reached the 4th level of Q refinement, displaying extraordinary talent and a promising future. The child he brought today was his youngest son, Nie Hong, who had recently turned 1. The births of his 3 sons were meticulously planned. Each was around 1 year old when the Nie family's quinquennial lottery ceremony took place, and the previous 2 had yielded extraordinary results. This time, it was Nie Hong's turn. With Nie Lan's sharp call, the gazes of all the Nie family members present converged on Nie Tian, who had just entered the hall. Brother, I've brought Nie Tian to the lottery ceremony, Nie Tian announced loudly. Beside her, a sturdy boy of about the same age, stood a little taller and considerably stronger than the other 7 children participating in the ceremony. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Nie Tian's voice was loud, but her expression betrayed a hint of anxiety. Nie Tian, however, was laughing heartily, completely oblivious to the unfriendly gazes directed at him. He seemed to rather enjoy the attention, showing no signs of nervousness. Nie Tian, Nie Lan snorted, his face grim. Although he shares our surname, it's only because we don't know his father. He's not truly one of us. According to family rules, an external grandson isn't eligible for the lottery. Don't cause trouble. Take Nie Tian away and stop wasting Mr. Lias and everyone else's time. Nie Tian turned sharply to Nie Donghai. Regardless of who my son-in-law is, before Jana passed, she said that Nie Tian's father willingly married into our family. Therefore, Nie Tian is considered one of us. Nie Donghai, his voice strong and unwavering. Brother, as far as I know, you wanted to tear that unknown fellow apart. You've been obsessed with finding him and killing him at any cost. Nie Nanshan, the third brother, chuckled. How come you suddenly changed your mind and acknowledged him as your son-in-law, and marrying in? There are rules to follow, aren't there? I don't recall that man ever swearing an oath in our ancestral hall. Yes, without an oath in the ancestral hall, without completing the ceremony, he definitely doesn't count as a son-in-law of the Nie family. Head of the family, you can't just casually recognize a sworn enemy as your son-in-law just so Nie Tian can participate in the lottery. Remember, he is the one who harmed Nie Jin. Even as the head of the family, you can't ignore the clan rules and act as you please, can you? Within the hall, the immediate and extended family members of the Nie clan who had brought their children all grumbled with discontent, accusing Nie Donghai of his reckless actions. Each additional child participating in the lottery ceremony meant a reduced chance for their own children, which naturally displeased them. In the past, if Nie Donghai hadn't been so severely injured and his prestige remained, they might not have dared to act like this. But now they all knew of Nie Donghai's condition and understood that it wouldn't be long before his cultivation regressed, forcing him to relinquish his position as head of the family. They wouldn't continue to show him face. Nie Baichuan, the second son of the Nie family, sat motionless in his chair, a statue amidst the hall's uproar, showing no intention of intervening, just as the clamor grew louder. Lu Yan from the Lingyan sect suddenly coughed lightly. All the shouting stopped abruptly. Even Nie Nanshan, the third son, who was about to question further, quickly shut his mouth, his face flushed as he looked at Lu Yan. Lu Yan, with a gentle and refined countenance, subtly shifted expression, gazing intently at Nie Tian beside Nie Tian. He was his little junior sister's son. As he spoke, a flicker of barely perceptible pain crossed Lu Yan's eyes. Upon hearing, the Nie family suddenly remembered that Nie Jin, the most gifted of the second generation of the Nie family, had reached the 9th level of Qi refinement at the age of 10, and had been taken to Lingyan sect early, becoming one of its disciples. And Lu Yan was Nie Jin's brother. Master Nian is the young son left behind by my poor sister, Nie Tian said sadly. Lu Yan nodded gently, casting a complex, deep look at Nie Tian before speaking softly. I had intended to bring out 5 small trinkets, but I and my junior sister were close, and for Nie Tian's sake, I've taken the liberty of adding the 2 other spirit weapons I possess. What do you think? He turned to Nie Baichuan and Nie Nanshan. Since Master Lu has spoken, we naturally obey, Nie Baichuan hurriedly replied. Nie Nanshan also nodded with a face full of joy, repeatedly saying, "Well, do as Master Lu says." The rest of the crowd had no objections. In that case, let's begin the Nie family's lottery draw now, Lian said without further ado, with a wave of his hand. 7 beams of treasure light suddenly flew out from his left sleeve. 7 beams of light, each a different color, bathed the Nie family hall in a dazzling radiance. The beams scattered across the stone floor of the hall, transforming into 7 shimmering objects: a sword, a knife, a fan, a glove, a wooden staff, a bead, and an animal bone. All the Nie family members, old and young, instinctively cleared a space in the center of the hall the moment the 7 artifacts landed, forming a circle around them. All eyes were instantly drawn to the 7 exquisite artifacts, no one paying any further attention to Nie Tian. Even the 3 Nie Donghai brothers unconsciously stood, their bodies emitting faint waves of spiritual energy as they sensed the attributes and grade of the 7 artifacts. Many Nie family members, eyes gleaming, similarly used their spiritual energy to sense them. Purple, green, red, and blue auras of different colors flashed from the 7 artifacts under the perception of the Nie family cultivators. 5th grade low level! Nie Lan's eye, her gaze fixed on the green bead produced by Lu Yan, her breath quickening. Heavens, it really is 5th grade. Shouldn't all spirit artifacts be low grade, 3rd rank items, as per the usual convention? Even a low grade 5th rank spirit artifact is incredibly valuable, a reward bestowed by the Lingyan sect only upon its true disciples. Master Lu is so generous! The green bead, under everyone's spiritual perception, seemed to contain threads of lightning flickering within, making it all the more extraordinary and causing the Nie family members' eyes to redden with envy. Nie Baichuan, the second son of the Nie family, stared intently at the bead, a strange gleam flashing in his eyes. And Nie Hong. Naturally, shortly after Nie Hong's birth, he had secretly used a secret technique to sense his grandson's talent. Due to his insufficient cultivation level, he had also used an extraordinary pill, giving him only a 70% certainty that Nie Hong possessed a trace of lightning attribute, and that low-grade, 5th rank green bead was clearly a spirit artifact containing lightning, perfectly matching Nie Hong's cultivation attribute, and he quickly bowed to Lu Yan, thanking him. Thank you, Master Lu, for your kindness. Having recovered their senses, the others, following Nie Baichuan's lead, also thanked Lu Yan for his generosity. Lian waved his hand, signaling everyone to be quiet. then said, "From this moment on, no one is allowed to use their internal spiritual energy to perceive, nor to disrupt the aura of the artifacts. Now everything is left to the 8 children. Let's see their own fortune." Nie Donghai said in a deep voice, "Go." Nie Tian secretly breathed a sigh of relief, finally releasing Nie Tian. The moment the 7 spiritual artifacts landed, Nie Tian beside her eyes lit up, eager to rush into the arena. If she hadn't held his arm tightly, he probably wouldn't have waited for everyone to finish speaking before charging in. The moment she let go, Nie Tian spread his arms wide, and with a posture of embracing the heavens, he dashed into the arena. Chapter 003 The worst incident in Nie family history. Bang! A child standing in front of Tian was instantly knocked to the ground by his impact. That child was Xuanhuan, the grandson of Nie Nanshan. After falling, Nie Yuan immediately burst into tears. Nie Tian did even glance at Nie Yuan, nor did he avoid him. He stepped directly over him. As his right foot landed, Nie Tian happened to step on Nie Yuan's hand, making the child's cries even more pitiful. Nie Nanshan, who had just calmed down, and Nie Yuan's father, Nie Chu, their hearts aching, their faces instantly darkened. However, collisions were frequent among the children vying for the spiritual artifacts during the lottery ceremony. While Nie Nanshan and Nie Q were displeased, they suppressed their anger and didn't immediately react. "Nie, careful!" Nie Tian urgently shouted. But Nie Tian seemed not to have heard Nie Tian's warning. He ran past Nie Yuan and immediately dashed towards the closest spiritual artifact. Meanwhile, another Nie family child, his eyes gleaming, stared at a pair of gloves emitting a faint red glow. As the child reached for the gloves, a faint red light emanated from his fingertips. Clearly, the child's cultivation attribute perfectly matched the spiritual energy fluctuation within the gloves. "That's Liandra's blessing!" A collateral member of the Nie family was visibly moved and immediately became excited. Lu Yan and all the Nie family members instantly recognized that the red glowing gloves were precisely the artifact Nilang needed. Lu Yan nodded slightly, thinking to himself, fire attribute. At that moment, everyone noticed Nilang's small hand trembling as he was about to grasp the gloves. Just then, Nie Tian, running at full speed, collided with Nilang, knocking him to the ground just as he was about to obtain the gloves. Before the bewildered Niang could cry out, Nie Tian had already grabbed the glove, bursting into exaggerated hearty laughter. As Nie Tian laughed uproariously, Niang, finally reacting, began to wail loudly. "Wah! Mine!" Nie Tian's triumphant expression laughter formed a stark contrast to Nilang's panic and cries. "Damn it, no way!" Nilang's father and a peripheral expert of the Nie family, his face darkening, muttered a curse before speaking in a low, heavy voice. The glove was incompatible with Nie Tian's cultivation attributes. There was no trace of spiritual energy resonating with the artifact on Nie Tian. What use was it for him to seize it? Lu Yan of the Lingyan sect, witnessing Nie Tian forcefully snatch the glove from Nilang's grasp, wore a wry smile. Lu Yan chuckled softly, about to offer a few words of comfort, when he saw Nie Tian, having just seized the glove, charge towards another nearby artifact. While Nilang was still wailing, Nie Tian, already wearing the red glove, dashed towards a blue short sword. At that moment, another Nie family child, a smile playing on his small face, had already grasped the blue short sword. The instant his fingers closed around the blue short sword, a shimmering blue light erupted from the point of contact between his skin and the blade. His mouth curved into a joyful grin, about to express his delight with a laugh. When Nie Tian arrived like a gust of wind, Nie Tian, considerably stronger, chuckled and snatched the blue short sword from the child's grip. The child, momentarily stunned by the loss of his spiritual weapon, tried to retrieve it, but Nie Tian pushed him to the ground. "Wah!" Another child's cry pierced the air in the Nie family's assembly hall. "Uncouth! That little brat is too uncouth!" Another Nie family member from a collateral branch fumed, his face reddening with anger. Wishing he could storm into the hall, Nie Tian, addicted to seizing things, completely ignored him, charging wildly through the hall as if no one else existed. In a short time he had snatched the remaining knives, fans, wooden staffs, and beads. Many Nie family members attending the lottery were speechless, staring at Nie Tian with the astonished gaze one might reserve for a demon. 7 children's cries mingled with their parents' shouts, creating a cacophony in the hall. Nie Tian, having seized all 7 spiritual weapons, could no longer hold them all. He piled them together, squatting there and happily stroking each one, his eyes filled with contented pride. However, everyone clearly saw that when his chubby little hands touched the 7 items, none of the weapons showed any change in spiritual energy. This meant that none of the 7 spiritual artifacts he had seized were compatible with his cultivation attributes. He was blatantly breaking the rules. The 7 Nie family children who had been robbed of their spiritual artifacts were now crying, naturally gathering around Nie Tian, their eyes fixed on the artifacts that were compatible with their attributes and made them feel comfortable, attempting to reclaim them. "Mine, all mine." Nie Tian turned around, gesturing wildly and babbling Nihong, greedily eyeing the blue pearl, intending to bypass Nie Tian and retrieve the pearl. Bang! Nie Tian swung his fist, his chubby fist landing unceremoniously on Nihong's face. Nihong fell to the ground with a thud, crying even louder. The remaining 6 children, who had been gradually approaching, looked at the unruly Nie Tian with fear in their eyes. They surrounded him, gazing longingly at the artifacts that originally belonged to them, but none dared to try and take them back. I've attended countless family lottery ceremonies, and I've never seen such a domineering and audacious child. This little rascal! None of the 7 spiritual artifacts are compatible with his cultivation attributes, yet he would let go of a single one, wanting to seize them all. In the history of our Nie family, there has never been such a heinous incident. Brothers within the clan should love and help each other. Absolutely no hogging all the good things. But look at him, not only does he want all the meat, he won't even let others have a sip of the soup. He's simply lawless, disregarding all rules. Nie Tian and Nie Tian, listening to the cries and shouts from within the hall, had faces as dark and still as water. Nie Tian stood at the doorway, watching Nie Tian's triumphant laughter, her expression anxious. She secretly resented Nie Tian's outrageous behavior, offending all the members of the Nie family. She looked pitifully at her father, Nie Donghai, only to see him with a wry smile on his face, clearly troubled and embarrassed, seemingly unsure how to resolve the situation. Lu Yan, who had been watching for a while, softly spoke. The clamor in the hall quieted down immediately after he spoke. The many members of the Nie family, they shifted their gazes from Nie Tian to Lu Yan. Lu Yan cleared his throat, smiling at everyone, and said, "Children's games are, well, interesting. As for those 7 little trinkets, Nie Tian certainly shouldn't keep them all. Let's do this. Nie Tian can keep 1, and the rest should be returned to the children. Let's just forget about this. What do you all think?" "Whatever Mr. Lu says. Well, do it." Nie Donghai, relieved to see him diffusing the tension, quickly replied, "Lian, you must not be so reckless. You may choose only one of those objects. Return the rest to your brothers and sisters, and never act so arbitrarily again. What do you all say?" Lu Yan asked the rest of the Nie family members. Under his gaze, the members of the Nie family who had previously clamorous for Nie Tian's punishment all nodded helplessly, explicitly stating their willingness to comply with his arrangements. "Good." Nodding lightly, he gave Nie Tian a meaningful look and said softly, "All right, listen to Uncle Lu. Feel free to take any spirit artifact you like. The rest, return them to your brothers." Nie Tian pouted, looking reluctant. He stole a glance at him fiercely. "If you dare cause any more trouble, just wait and see how I deal with you later." Nie Tian shrunk his head, seemingly only afraid of Nie Tian. Without looking back, he casually picked a beast bone from the pile of spirit artifacts and stepped aside. His nonchalant attitude suddenly made everyone realize that he didn't seem to value those 7 spirit artifacts at all. It seemed he only enjoyed the process of seizing them from others. Seeing him choose the lowest grade beast bone, many members of the Nie family's eyes lit up. While inwardly mocking his foolishness, the grim expressions on their faces eased slightly. "Woohoo!" The moment he stepped aside, the Nie family children who had been holding back, finally surged forward to grab the remaining 6 spirit artifacts they had already targeted. Chapter 1004 Lu Yan's confusion afternoon. After a barrage of complaint, Nie Tian reluctantly stopped when she saw Nie Tian, full and satisfied, falling into a deep sleep. The beast bone Nie Tian had brought back from the lottery ceremony remained clutched in his hand, but Nie Tian detected no sign of spiritual resonance between him and the bone. "What a fool," she muttered under her breath. "He grabbed so many high-level spiritual artifacts, yet he couldn't even pick a good one. It's useless." Nie Donghai's voice cut through the air from outside. Even if he'd taken the highest quality pearl, it wouldn't have helped him. None of those 7 artifacts suited him. "I knew from the start that the lottery wouldn't yield any results for him." Father Master Lu. Seeing Nie Donghai and Lu Yan of the Lingyan sect enter together, Nie Donghai cast a loving glance at Nie Tian, sprawled on the bed in his afternoon slumber. He sighed softly, his expression darkening. "Sometime I secretly tried to determine this child's spiritual attributes," but he paused, then continued, "Perhaps my cultivation is insufficient, but I sensed no spiritual fluctuations whatsoever in him. That's when I knew that even if he participated in the lottery ceremony, he wouldn't gain anything. That's why I didn't insist on him participating in the lottery ceremony." Nie Tian stared blankly for a moment, then said in a daze, "Pa." Even a Donghai gave a wry smile, still harboring a sliver of unwillingness, still clinging to the hope of a miracle. Now, he saw it was wishful thinking. "It's all my fault." Nie Tian blamed herself. At that moment, she understood that Nie Donghai loved Nie Tian just as much as she did. She finally understood why he was willing to clash with the rest of the Nie family again, all for a sliver of a chance for Nie Tian, even though he knew his efforts might be in vain. "Let me take a closer look," Lu Yan said, already walking to the windowsill, reaching out towards the sleeping Nie Tian. A soft, white glow emanated from the palm of Lu Yan's left hand, its gentle luminescence making his hand appear like jade. Lu Yan's hand gently rested on Nie Tian's abdomen. He squinted his eyes, his expression focused as the spiritual energy from his palm, fine as a hair, slowly permeated from Nie Tian's abdomen to his limbs and body. Sleeping Nie Tian seemed quite comfortable. A blissful smile appeared on his chubby little face, and he even snored, as if lost in a sweet dream. The soft, jade-like white light gradually emanated from within Nie Tian's skin, making him look like a porcelain doll bathed in light. However, Nie Donghai and Nie Tian looked at Nie Tian with furrowed brows. They understood that the jade-like glow originated from Lu Yan's spiritual energy. That spiritual energy, after circulating within Nie Tian's body, hadn't triggered any other changes, meaning that there were no other spiritual energy fluctuations within him. After a long while, Lu Yan gently withdrew her hand. turning to shake her head at Nie Donghai. Nie Donghai and Nie Tian's faces fell. It shouldn't be like this. I know my junior apprentice, sister's aptitude. Not only in Black Cloud City, but even in our Lingyan sect, her talent is outstanding. Even if she were to unite with someone completely devoid of talent, her child would inherit some of her aptitude. It shouldn't be this way. Lu Yan also looked puzzled, but I've carefully examined him, and truly haven't sensed any unusual spiritual energy fluctuation within Nie Alice. Nie Donghai sighed, his expression despondent. However, Lu Yan's tone shifted, her brows furrowed. Nie Tian's blood qi is exceptionally vigorous. I noticed it at the naming ceremony. He was stronger and more powerful than all the children of his age. His flesh and bones are very resilient. If we disregard the spiritual energy factor, and simply compare strength and brute force, among his generation in the Nie family, is probably unparalleled. What good is that? Nie Tian's face was bitter. Those children are still young. When they grow up a little and can understand adult conversation, they will start cultivating spiritual energy. Spiritual energy is the fundamental measure of a cultivator's strength, the true source of power. With only brute force, how far can he go? That's exactly what I'm worried about too, Nie Donghai added. Those children with special spiritual energy attributes can cultivate compatible spiritual energy techniques, and their progress will be rapid, laying a solid foundation early on. Only such children have a chance of reaching the 9th level of qi refinement by the age of 15, thus gaining the favor of your Lingyan sect. Someone like Nie Tian, who hasn't shown any obvious cultivation attributes, will naturally progress much slower. This means it's almost impossible for him to reach the 9th level of qi refinement by 15. The doors of Lingyan sect will be permanently closed to him, preventing him from training at your Lingyan sect. His life will be confined to our Nie family. Lu Yam came to Nie Donghai, patted his shoulder comfortingly, and said earnestly, not entering Lingyan sect isn't necessarily a bad thing. Many talented individuals from our Lingyan sect have met untimely ends to reach the pinnacle. Every step is fraught with peril. Only those with great fortune can overcome every challenge. For someone like Nie Tian, to live a peaceful life is not a bad thing at all. Lu Yan's words reminded Donghai of his deceased daughter Jin. A pain that struck him silent. I must return to Lingyan sect. While my junior sister was on the mountain, I guided her on behalf of the master. I cherished and loved her greatly. Old brother, rest assured, I will diligently search for the person who harmed her, and I will inform you immediately if I find anything. Having said that, Lu Yan gently patted Nie Donghai's shoulder once more before striding away. Thank you for your kindness, Master Lu. Nie Donghai expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Master Lu, Nie Tian quickly added. The two wanted to see him off, but at the gate they realized Lu Yan was walking faster and faster, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Lu's been very kind to us. Nie Donghai pondered for a moment, then frowned and said, if it weren't for Mr. Liu today, those clansmen, they probably wouldn't have let Nie Tian off so easily. After little Tian and I left, what did those guys do? Nie Tian asked resentfully. Nie Donghai nodded slowly. Naturally they caused quite a commotion. Each one of them seized on the excuse that Nie Tian wasn't a direct descendant of the Nie family, saying he was acting unruly at the lottery draw and demanding I punish him. Thankfully, Lu spoke up for him, preventing them from pressing charges further. Otherwise, even I couldn't have contained them. But Mr. Liu is gone, and he won't be coming often anymore. Nie Tian sighed. As long as I remain the head of the Nie family, I won't allow them to act so recklessly. Nie Donghai snorted. I'm afraid father won't be able to hold on to that position for much longer. Nie Tian smiled wryly. I'll hold on to it for as long as I can, even one more day. I have to get justice for you and Jaina. Nie Donghai's expression was resolute. After saying this, he left, watching his aging heroes back. Nie Tian's face was forlorn. She sat down in front of the door, lost in thought. Inside the room, Nie Tian, still asleep, had faint traces of spiritual energy left by Lu Yan's inspection lingering on his body. Nie Tian's skin, nourished by the spiritual light, trembled slightly like ripples in water. Each tremor of his flesh dimmed the spiritual light within him, as if his body greedily absorbed and refined it. None of this, not Lu Yan, nor Nie Donghai and Nie Tian, knew anything about it. Usually Nie Tian only napped for half an hour, but today he unexpectedly slept for a full 2 hours, only waking up feeling completely relaxed once every trace of spiritual light and fluctuation had vanished from his body. Chapter 50. Unblemished victory. Time flowed like water, 9 years fleeting by. Dawn broke, the rising sun illuminating the Nie family's younger generation gathered in the square. Some sat cross-legged, subtly absorbing the ambient spiritual energy, while others honed their combat skills with vigorous movements. In a corner of the spacious square, a group of 10-year-old Nie family children clenched their fists, glaring resentfully at the stone path to the east. He's only at the 3rd level of qi refinement. I don't believe he can keep winning. I just broke through again yesterday, and today I'm going to teach him a lesson. 9 years later, 10-year-old Nie Hong, thanks to the pearl he won at the lottery 9 years ago, had already reached the 6th level of qi refinement. As he gritted his teeth, faint sparks flickered at his left fingertip. Hongji knows you broke through again. He probably won't dare come today, right? Nie said. No. Hell definitely can't, I know him! Nie Hong shook his head. In the center of the square, Wu Tao, the Nie family's guest elder, and the 14 or 15-year-old Nie family boys and girls, occasionally glanced this way during their cultivation, their faces displaying amused expressions. Nie Yuan, were you just saying I would dare come? At that moment, A strong childish voice came from the long narrow stone path to the east, and Nie Tian's figure, noticeably taller than other children of his age, slowly appeared. "He's here!" Knowing that Nie Hong had just entered the 6th level of key refinement, he actually dared to come, quite bold, interesting. Many of the older Nie family boys and girls were excited upon hearing that familiar voice. Several who were cultivating slowly stood up, and those practicing dragon, tiger walking and boxing abruptly stopped, their gazes converging on Nie Tian. In their eyes, Nie Tian was an anomaly. 9 years had passed since the lottery ceremony, and to this day, Nie Tian hadn't displayed any special cultivation attributes. The beast bone he'd received remained stubbornly unresponsive, failing to resonate with his spiritual energy. Consequently, while Nie Hong, Nie Wang, and the others had identified their spiritual attributes, moved on to cultivate specific spiritual technique, and leveraged the spiritual artifacts they'd obtained from the lottery ceremony to make rapid progress in their cultivation. Nie Tian was still practicing the most basic Q refining technique. Nie Tian's slow cultivation progress was met with quiet ridicule from everyone, leaving the family head, Nie Donghai and Nie Tian, at a loss. However, surprisingly, Nie Tian's body grew stronger and stronger. This meant that when he fought his peers, he didn't suffer any disadvantage despite his low He refining realm. On the contrary, over the past 9 years, every battle Nie Tian fought against his peers ended in a crushing defeat for his opponent. Nie Tian remained undefeated. Their interest in Nie Tian's battles stemmed from their curiosity about when the advantage of his physical strength would finally disappear. Nie Hong had just broken through to the 6th layer of Qi refining yesterday, his spiritual energy imbued with the power of thunder. They privately believed that Nie Tian's undefeated record would end in today's battle. Therefore, they all secretly anticipated this fight. "Nie Yuan, it was you mocking me yesterday, wasn't it? How about we warm up with a little sparring?" Nie Tian stepped forward, glancing sideways at Nie Yuan, initiating the challenge. Nie Yuan, who had cultivated to the 5th level of Qi refinement, showed a clear sign of fear under Nie Tian's gaze. Nie Yuan subconsciously took a half step back, his bravado a thin vein. "Nie Tian," he said, his voice strained, "your opponent today is Hong. If you can still stand after fighting Hong, then I'll play with you." "Shameless, Nie Yu, with her hair in a top knot," muttered under her breath. "Fine," Nie Tian said indifferently, his tone dismissive. "Fighting you, I really don't need to use my full strength." "You!" Nie Yuan's face flushed with anger. "All of you, get out of the way!" Nie Hong yelled, gesturing for the other children to move back. As he spoke, his right fist crackled with faint green electrical sparks. The other Nie family children around Nie Hong retreated as instructed, clearing the area for him and Nie Tian. Wu Tao, along with the older Nie family youths, saw the imminent battle and gathered closer, grinning and chatting amongst themselves. On a tall stone hall, Nie Donghai stood at the window, his hands resting on the stone wall, looking down at the square from above. For 9 years, Nie Donghai, using his authority as the head of the Nie family, had tried every means to find the man who had harmed Nie Jin. Unfortunately, to this day, he hadn't received any news about that man. That man, as if appearing out of thin air, had vanished just as suddenly. The only trace he left behind was Nie Tian, on the square about to fight Nie Hong. Nie Donghai's body was deteriorating day by day. Once tall and strong, he was now gaunt and emaciated. Even the most unobservant person, upon seeing him, would know that his days were numbered. On the raised platform, watching Nie Tian fight those children his age, watching Nie Tian win again and again, was one of his few remaining pleasures. But he also understood that, with his insufficient cultivation, Nie Tian, relying solely on his physical strength, would eventually lose. He also knew that once Nie Tian started losing, it would mean the end of his physical advantage afterwards. The gap between Nie Tian and the other children would widen as those children's cultivation rapidly improved. "Will it be today?" Nie Donghai murmured to himself. Screech! A strange sound came from the square, from Nie Hong's fist, flashing with electric light. Accompanied by a loud shout from Nie Hong, he suddenly lunged towards Nie Tian. It's a bit faster than before." Nain opened his mouth, faced the forcefully charging Nie Hong, smiled, and surprisingly showed no intention of dodging. Nie Tian suddenly raised his hand, forcefully stepping forward. His fist, noticeably larger than Nie Hong's, smashed heavily into Nie Hong's right fist. Bang! The two fists collided, a muffled sound echoing. Nie Hong's charge instantly stopped. Nie Tian took 2 steps back, wincing and shaking his fist. Thin strands of electrical sparks splashed from his fist as he moved his arm. Many onlookers looked closely and discovered very clear scorch marks on the back of Nie Tian's fist. Refinement Q Layer 6, seemingly only one level above Layer 5, actually has a fundamental difference. At the 6th level, one can release spiritual energy, and the power of the lightning contained within the spiritual energy can penetrate the opponent's body. Nie Tian, a 14-year-old collateral branch member of the Nie family who had already cultivated to Refinement Q Layer 8, looked deeply at Nie Tian, shook his head and continued. With each collision of fists, Nie Hong was able to leave the lightning contained within his spiritual energy inside Nie Tian. The lightning would numb his flesh, making his body numb and forcing him to divert some of his energy to resist the lingering electrical erosion within his body. This way, it wouldn't be long before he would lose his fighting ability and be at Nie Hong's mercy. Using Refinement Q Layer 3 against Layer 6 and insisting on a head-on collision is incredibly unwise. Nie Tao, a Nie family guest elder, nodded slightly, looking at the promising Nie Shan with an approving gaze before speaking. Nie Tian, relying on his strong physique, had grown accustomed to head-on collisions through years of fighting, and he had indeed never suffered a major loss before. But he didn't know what the external release of spiritual energy at Refinement Key Layer 6 meant. He was bound to suffer a loss today, and his undefeated record would likely be broken in this fight. To put it bluntly, it's because of his lack of talent. If he were at the 6th level of key refinement like Nie Hong, and his spiritual energy possessed a unique attribute, it would be easy for him to defeat Nie Hong, Nie Tian said. Do you feel it, Nie Hong? With electricity flashing once again from his fist. Coldly looked at Nie Tian, who was still waving his arms. The trace of lightning I left on you. Has it spread to your arm? How does it feel? Your hand should be numb and aching, right? A little. Nie Tian grinned, clearly in some pain, but it's alright. Still putting on a brave face, Nie Hong's expression was excited. Suppressed for 9 years and suffering consecutive defeats, he finally saw a glimmer of hope in this battle. Not a big deal. Huh. Then let's try a few more times. Bang! 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 Nie Hong's fists were like cannonballs, continuously bombarding Nie Tian. Nie Tian surprisingly didn't dodge, responding to Nie Hong with the same stubborn method. After 10 breaths, Nie Hong stopped first, breathing heavily. His imposing manner like a tiger as he looked at Nie Tian. Nie Tian's 2 hands were charred black, with sparks of electricity continuously flying from his arms. Everyone could see that even the movement of Nie Tian's arms was noticeably stiff. But Nie Tian's eyes revealed an unprecedentedly high fighting spirit, like a young, wild beast finally awakened. Roaring a Nie Hong, continue! Why did you stop? Come on, don't stop! It seemed he was the one holding the upper hand. This episode is complete. Welcome to subscribe, turn on the small bell forward. Please leave your comments. I will continue to update the content behind.